All right, welcome to Frontline. Hope day. It's 6 o'clock here on the East Coast, and the COVID cover-up just got a little harder to cover up. Former advisor to Dr. Anthony Fauci has now pled guilty to conspiring to concealed records tied to the federal government's COVID response, or bad response, I should say. David Morans admitted to helping conceal federal records from investigators, including records connected to the government's handling of the pandemic. Thank God somebody's finally going to jail. This is just the first shoe to drop. I hope the rest of these people never feel safe, and they all end up buried underneath the jail. Plus, President Trump has given the White House another construction glow-up. Today, he showed off his brand new helipad, part of a series of major upgrades he says will modernize the complex and make it more functional for the presidency. New helipad, new ballroom, new D.C., same boss. And the FBI said red flag, but Democrats were like, nah, keep them on. Newly released FBI files show that then Speaker Nancy Pelosi and House Democrats kept Eric Swalwell on the House Intel Committee despite all the warnings from the FBI about his ties to Fang Fang, the suspected Chinese intelligence operative that just vanished off to China. Politics over priorities, I guess. But first, these Democrat primaries could actually be like an SNL skit. But hey, at least Alexander Vindeman lost. Let's do this. All right. Last night's primaries were actually like almost comical for the left. I'm going to get to some of the hilarity of that in a sec, but for the news sake, of course, on the Republican side, we had our suspected people win. Like Byron Donalds will be the Republican gubernatorial candidate, and Ashley Moody will be the Republican for Senate in Florida. Moody's far-left opponent actually gave one of the most comical interviews of the night, seemingly not understanding the state that she's running in at all.
And so I look forward, Ashley Moody, to taking you on and to whooping you in November, and you will be calling me your senator.
State Representative Angie Nixon, thank you for joining.
The interview was like, okay. I cannot wait to play that clip after the general election. In fact, we're going to invite her on the following day. I bet she says no because she will have lost, but it'll be fun either way. Oh, she also gave us the best L of the night by actually beating Alexander Vindeman. You remember this guy?
You testified in the deposition that you did not know who the whistleblower was, or is.
I do not know who the whistleblower is. That is.
So how is it possible for you to name these people and then out the whistleblower?
Per the advice of my counsel, I've been advised not to answer specific questions about members of the intelligence community.
Hey, you were also advised to lose, buddy. That dude, the peon who worked at the National Security Council, that was like the Democrats' star witness in an impeachment because he was so upset that the president didn't listen to his advice during a phone call with Ukraine. That self-righteous fool in Florida outspent Nixon, the woman we just played earlier, his primary opponent, 16-1, and he still got creamed. That's how unlikable that guy is. Good riddance. I'm sure it's not going to be the last we hear of this guy because he's one of these like perpetually arrogant people that just can't go away or take a clue. But he won't be in Congress next year, which is awesome. In fact, he won't even have a shot at making it to Congress, which makes me laugh. Harriet Hegman, who is a personal favorite of mine, she's in Wyoming mostly because I love her actually to death, mostly because she unseated Liz Cheney by like 32 points in that primary, if you remember that. She will be running for the U.S. Senate, and Chuck Gray will be running for her seat. There was one upset actually out there. Eric Barlow, a state senator, won the primary for governor, and he defeated a Trump-endorsed person. But it's basically a foregone conclusion that a Republican will win in Wyoming no matter what. So I'm not sure how big a difference that makes. One of the two, Dan Sullivan's won. If you remember, I think we talked about it last night. The Democrats, they found another guy named Dan Sullivan to run against the Republican Dan Sullivan just to confuse voters in hopes of elevating Democrat Mary Pelota because they have like this weird ranked choice voting system that doesn't make any sense. The other one, the other race, this was so funny. Sheila Sherfless McCormick, like one of these hyphenated people, that she was the Democrat rep. And if you remember, she refused to resign because she was indicted for allegedly stealing and laundering $5 million in FEMA funds. She got shellacked last night. Only 9% of the vote in her primary. Good riddance, lady. Turns out people don't really like when you steal money after you try to raise taxes on them. I would say this is actually a sign that our nation is leaning more towards normal and away from crazy stuff. Again, don't trust the polls. We've told you about that one polling company the other day that literally just made stuff up to try to influence the election. But on the back of last night's election, and this is why I don't trust the polls, we just found out that 73% of polls overstated the levels of Democrat support. Shocker, right? You want to know why I think this happens? Because all Democrats are actually Democrats. Actually, they're socialists and communists, but not all Republicans are actually Republican. And I can prove it to you. Remember John Cornyn, the guy he's a senator in Texas, who spent $100 million just trying to keep his own seat in Texas, ended up losing to Ken Paxton because he wasn't governing as an actual Republican. Well, his staffer, this is perfect. His staffer just left his campaign to go work for Low T. James Tallarico. Totally switching sides. I'm almost like, good. Get these estrogen-chugging people out of the party. And when Tallarico loses, that guy can go work at the Lincoln Project with Rick Wilson and the rest of these people. Hey, also, didn't one of their founders resign for accusations of soliciting over 20 people, one as young as 14, for sex? Yep, that was the Lincoln Project. Those are the people who are opposing Trump, by the way. But this is the... I don't even want to say Democrat Party. This is the anti-America wing of politics, used to be known as the Democrat Party. That's been completely hijacked by commies, or worse, jihadists. Literally, as the dust settles on that Michigan primary a couple weeks ago, we're now finding out more about a little tidbit from May that popped up where El Said, the devout Muslim, compared himself to Jesus.
Jesus, peace and blessings be upon him, was considered radical in his time too. And there is a radical nature to being willing to stand forthright in a time of corruption.
Forthright in a time of corruption. But we did just find out that Abdul El Said's mom, who worked for a designated terror group that financed Osama bin Laden ahead of 9/11. Yes, standing steadfast. Yes, you are so pure of heart. I mean, this is not me saying this. The State Department said this. But sure, I'm sure he'll make a great senator for the, Michiganistan. This is the Democrat Party. This is who Democrats in America are electing. This is why the party is so much less popular than it was 8 years ago.
Back in 2018, when Democrats, during the first Trump presidency, right, when they were able to win back control of the House, they were even. They were even, right? Favorable minus unfavorable, even at 0-0-0. Now look at this. 25 points underwater. Oof. Oof.
Oof. And they keep learning the same, or at least the voters keep, I don't even say they're learning. They keep finding out the lesson the same way over and over again. It's like we told you so yesterday with Mamdani, where he wants to tax all these people, all this money, and even the Democrats in his own city council who are with him are furious with him.
So how the administration published more than 900,000 names and addresses showed me that this is how the administration feels about homeowners in this great city, that this is something that we need to be ashamed of.
I mean, I told you this was going to happen. Hey, he told you this was going to. This is not a secret. He said it from his campaign podiums. This is the warmth of collectivism that he was talking about, and yet we still have these morons voting for the same candidates when they do this. They're like, I don't know why it happened. It's crazy to me that this party slides further and further left, continuing to get elected. And then you got people like James, Cornyn, who in Texas just slid away from Republicans and toward Democrats and even lost a staffer to Democrats. That's why you're getting thrown out. People are waking up to this stuff. The same people who vote for these things get surprised that all these people do exactly what they say they're going to. The people who are running this far left slide to socialism are a bunch of wealthy brats, too. They don't even understand economics. I certainly don't care about you. They've been spoon-fed everything their entire life. Most of them have never had a real job or a career or ever been punched in the face or hit in the face with a dodgeball or any of that stuff in reality. Bernie Sanders, the architect of essentially this rise of American socialism, outside of writing porn novels barefoot in a maple syrup shack before he was elected mayor of Burlington, Vermont, has never held a real job other than government and redistributing my money. And then he demonizes the people who pay the taxes for the crazy stuff he thinks up.
maybe billionaires should start paying their fair share. The billionaires, you're going to pay your fair share of taxes. Multi-billionaires who in a given year pay nothing.
1% pay 40% of the taxes. That's pretty fair to me. Actually, it's not at all. And his acolytes are the same thing. One of the heads of the Democrat Socialists of America, we just found out, is from a multi-million-dollar family, earned by capitalism, who bought their son, the DSA guy, a $1.5 million pad. They also have an $11,000 a month mansion in Florida. But this guy wants to tear down capitalism. Right. This is what's coming, folks. You vote left, you're going to get it good and hard. And anybody who even considers voting for these clowns, just notice that they're, still flying around on private jets while telling you and I that we can't have a gas stove or even gas cars. They're going to take your tires in California. Choose wisely, America. You're going to be eating bugs and why they fly around on private jets. Host of the Andrew Klavan Show, Andrew Klavan. Sir, it gets more ridiculous just when you think it can't.
Yeah, the only way you can make sense of it, Carl, is if you look at it from the point of view of the Democrat base, right? They're the most radical people in the party. And they've been told for years and years that no, we don't want your radicals. We don't want your Bernies out there. We want people who look normal, who campaign as moderates, and then govern like Karl Marx. So we want a Joe Biden, we want a Hillary Clinton, and Trump keeps beating them. So this thing with Alex Vindman was really symbolic because Vindman was their man. He was the deep state guy. The New York Times was saying how wonderful that the unelected deep state is saving us from the elected president of the United States, Donald Trump, by essentially committing treason and telling people what he's talking about to a foreign government. So Vindman, these were the guys that were going to bring Trump down. And they did everything, the lawfare, the social, the communist, the Russian collusion plot, all these lies they told him, burying Hunter Biden's laptop, all the things they did, they were going to bring him down. And Trump puts his mugshot on a T-shirt and beats them all. So if I'm the base, if I'm the Democrat base, I'm like, okay, you lied to us. Give us the Bernie guys. Give us the far left guys. And so that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like you actually can't make this up. I want to go back to Angie Nixon. That was the DSA candidate. Please don't put up any more Vindman. I just hate his face. Okay, so, but the opponent of Senator or soon-to-be Senator Ashley Moody, apparently, this woman loves drag shows.
I don't understand, there's no sexualization at a drag show. It's just people dressing up and singing and performing. I've taken my children to drag shows, and it's fun. It's entertainment. It's wholesome entertainment, and there's nothing wrong.
Yeah, this woman is guaranteeing she will win in the state that voted to ban this type of stuff for kids. Good luck.
Yeah, no, Texas loves drag shows. That's what they're famous for. Yeah. The guys who would herd cattle and then they'd come in and watch the drag show, just like, and every Democrat. And you're right. It is. I mean, look, this midterm was looking like a disaster. It may still be a disaster. There's tides flowing against the administration, as there always is in a midterm election. But the Democrats have at least given us a chance to hold on to Congress, and that would be an amazing, amazing thing. I would give Trump a new lease on life for the second half of his administration, and it could happen. I'm not as optimistic as I wish I were, but it could happen.
Yeah, you got to wonder why these people are voting for these people, if they are people voting for them. Andrew Klavan, pleasure as always, sir.
Great to see you, Carl. Thanks.
And speaking of voting, breaking news today from the Justice Department that the thing that Democrats say never happened again. The Justice Department today arresting a Chinese national living in Massachusetts, deep blue Massachusetts, for submitting a fraudulent voter registration and ballot in the 2024 presidential election, and for allegedly submitting 2 fraudulent immigration forms on behalf of the victim, a Chinese national, and his wife, resulting in their confiscation of their green cards and causing them to enter into removal proceedings. The U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts who brought these charges, Leah Foley, incredible. I'm glad you did, but this just keeps happening.
It does, and it's disappointing. The work we do in this office is to ensure the public that they can believe that our voting system is done properly and that people who can vote their votes are counted, and people who cannot vote aren't counted. And we will continue to conduct these investigations so that the public can have faith in our voting.
Yeah, I mean, everything you're saying makes complete sense. Like, there is not a single person who can argue with the logic there. But in your charges, you note that online voter registration through the Secretary of the Commonwealth's website, impersonating another Chinese national residing in Massachusetts with legal permanent resident status, and then voted with that registration. I mean, this is just like another example.
Yes, and it's so infuriating that this can happen. Not only was someone who is not a citizen allowed to vote in his own name, the system has so many holes in it that you can register someone else to vote by simply knowing their date of birth, their name, and their address, and their driver's license, and then go vote on their behalf. And at no point is there any check on whether you are actually the person who's voting or that you are even entitled to vote. And this is just not going to instill faith in Commonwealth.
I tell you, this is just like another example for the Save America Act. But the fact is, Democrats would never let gun registration be this loose, but they're happy to do it for voting registration. Leah Foley, keep up the great work up there. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Coming up, what Democrats say never happened, as we just discussed, happened 24,000 more times actually in 2020, and that number is likely to go up even more. Why are non-citizens voting in our elections? I'll have my thoughts on that coming up later in the show. But first, we are barreling towards a national debt number that should have everyone taking notice. We actually, just a few hours ago, crossed $40 trillion. And what is Congress doing to fix it? Oh, that's right. They're enjoying a nice month-long vacation. They are worthless. Next.
Federal agencies urge every family to have an emergency radio. During any disaster, electrical power may get cut. The emergency radio gives you the vital information you need. Newsmax wants you to have the Dynamo Emergency Band Radio. It doesn't need batteries and works in any emergencies. It retails for $30. You can get it with the free offer. Call or go online and get the emergency radio today. Your life may depend on it.
Hey guys, Viagra is not your only option. Rove Sparks act fast and stay active longer. They aren't pills. Sparks dissolve under your tongue to reach your bloodstream for speedy results. Connect with a provider at rove.co/sparks.
We wanted transparency, but we couldn't find it. So we started Good Ranchers to reconnect the American family to the American farm. All of our meat is 100% born, raised, and harvested right here on American soil. But good sourcing is just the beginning. We go the extra mile to take stuff off your plate. Pre-trimmed cuts, easy thaw bags, fully cooked options.
Ooh, yeah, this is good.
And it's good for you. No antibiotics, no added hormones, no seed oils, no gluten, no funny business.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. With Ethos, it's so fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage.
Check your price today at ethos.com.
It's me, Ricky. You grew up with me. I am using Fatty 15 to get me to feel and look the best I've ever felt at my age. The C15 nutrient has been known to strengthen our cells and slow the aging process at a cellular level. I urge you to try Fatty 15.
Congratulations, Congress. It took our nation 192 years to accumulate $1 trillion in debt. The most recent trillion took only 5 months. The U.S. national debt surpassed $40 trillion this afternoon after hitting $39 trillion back in March. Yes, look, understanding to a degree our system functions and requires debt because debt means expansion. But eventually there is a breaking point. Too much debt is bad. It is ultimately the responsibility of Congress, who spend and spend and spend like drunken sailors. And they do nothing to offset it, unlike the growth that President Trump is trying to get done. You people walk around like you're the most important thing in your limos and your fundraisers, like you're the experts and you know more than all of us. And anytime we call you out, you're like, oh, let me explain it to you, like we're the idiots. No, you guys got us $40 trillion in debt, which is like a little close to $120,000 per person in America, every man, woman, and child. Why are you so incapable of not spending more than you take in? I want your advice on approximately nothing to fix this problem. Former Trump senior economic advisor Steve Moore. So why can't we just go back to, I don't know, pre-COVID spending? Cut the spending in half.
You sound angry, my friend, and
Very.
I think people are angry. You know, I've done a number of interviews today about this $40 trillion debt number, which is an abomination and it is a disgrace. And I was thinking when you just mentioned, I remember because I came to Washington and I was in the Reagan administration when we had the first $1 trillion budget and the first $1 trillion of debt. And we thought, oh my God, $1 trillion of debt. And here we are with 40 trillion today. It's happening under Republicans. It's happening under Democrats. You have to blame, frankly, you have to blame both parties for this.
Yeah. For sure.
One other quick thing. You know, they have a big spending bill right now. They have another spending bill in front of Congress to spend more money on defense and other things. And, you know, people can argue whether that's necessary. My conservative friends say, yeah, we have to spend more money on defense. Okay, fine. But then pay for it. Pay for it. Right. Cut something else. You know, whatever happened to the concept of what families do, pay as you go. If you spend more on, you know, this, you have to spend less money on that. There's none of that in Washington.
No, and just like $2 trillion, $3 trillion deficits. But here's the other thing, too, is the government can't even manage the money that we give them that they're keeping. Let's take Social Security. The same government that put us $40 trillion in debt. This is the same government that refused to privatize even 10%. George Bush proposed a 10% privatization of Social Security, putting it in the market. If that had happened when he did that, that 10% that you would have invested in the S&P back in like the early 2000s would have been worth and yielding more than the 90% the government is going to try to give to you now by printing more money.
It's exactly right. And this is something I've been talking about for 30 years. If, you know, I've just turned 66, so I'm now eligible for Social Security, and they're going to pay me a lousy $3,000 a month. If I had just been able to put that in an index fund, and, you know, don't forget they're taking 12% of every one of your paychecks. If I had done that, I'd be getting $10,000 a month. So I don't believe we should be cutting people's Social Security benefits. I don't believe that's fair to people. I think what we ought to do is move towards that system where everybody can get a real return on their money. God, you know, how about the fraud? Why don't you just start with the fraud, you idiots? We know there's a trillion. By the way, Carl, if we know there's $1 trillion, there's probably two, right? Because half of it we probably don't even know about.
Right. Well, and I know that there was $250 billion that the Pentagon lost that they have no idea where it went. I think $1.3 trillion over 10 years we just vanished and nobody knew. Look, I was blowing up bulldozers in Iraq because we didn't want to fly them home. I mean, that's the kind of money we waste around here. I got to get to this, though. President Trump last night paused a 50% tariff on Canada. Says there's a trade deal that's been worked out, subject to finalization. And I'm looking at Alberta here, okay? This could be a win for especially farmers, too. I mean, Alberta can crank out oil. They can crank out timber. They're the producer of Canada. What does all this mean?
Well, you know, many people in Alberta want us to secede from Canada because they're producing everything in Canada, and the rest of the people are living off of Alberta's resources. A lot of the idiots in Canada don't want to produce, climate change, we don't want fossil fuels. Don't they even realize that's what's propping up their economy? It's that Alberta's producing all this energy. We have same thing here at home. Incidentally, one of the things we could do, you know, how about, here's a way we could raise more money. The federal government, as you know, owns 35-40% of the federal lands. Sell the lands and then let them produce stuff on the lands. The land is probably worth multiple trillions of dollars. I mean, sell the assets.
Yeah. Or make a deal with the oil company. Give the government 10% of the profit. Whatever. I know a lot of people hunt on national land, so I'm for opening those. But Steve Moore.
But you know what? The government's a terrible custodian of the land. They're the ones who let all the forest burn.
Yeah, all the government is the DMV, as far as I'm concerned. But Steve Moore, pleasure as always, sir.
Thank you.
I like that guy a lot. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, folks, I will be interviewing Vice President J.D. Vance right here. We're going to hit all the top stories of the day, and I got some curveballs for him, including his 2028 run and some other stuff. So make sure you join us tomorrow on that. Coming up, just when you thought Minnesota couldn't get any more Minnesota-istan, and I get to the Outstanding Refugee Award winner is now in legal trouble. Color me shocked. We've got another week of Unfiltered coming up next.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
While this banana may not save you from someone breaking into your home, Berna's banana helped one vet repel an intruder in his.
This huge guy, 6'5", 6'6", just barreled through my front door. I have my Berna and my Glock. I always go for the Berna first. I've seen enough death and destruction to last 2 lifetimes. Here is the perfect item I can have, feel totally safe, and know I'm not going to kill anybody.
At Berna, we don't sell bananas, we sell peace of mind.
Ridge is back with our 6th annual sweepstakes. With prizes so epic, we needed a spokesperson to match.
These are pretty nice. You can win a Lamborghini, souped-up trucks, or $100,000 cash.
Enter to win for free at ridge.com.
Wait, free?
Yeah.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, at 92 years of age with my wife Shirley, who is 83. Now, both of us are still cutting a wide swath in life, all because of Immuno 150. Now, we are asking you to use Immuno 150 like we do. Give it a chance for at least 90 days so that you can see what 70 plant minerals and 80 additional nutrients can do for you.
It really is incredible.
Don't place your order until after you've watched the 3 videos on our website.
You can join the Tunnel to Towers mission to do good by donating your car to today's veterans. Your car donation will help Gold Star families, as well as injured veterans, our first responders, and our homeless veterans. Donating your car is quick and simple. Any car is accepted, and we will pick up the car for free. Simply call 844-BRAVES.
By donating your car, you can make a real difference. You can do good.
You might take something for your heart or your joints. So why wouldn't you take something for the most important part of you, your brain? Prevagen for your brain.
Hi, I'm Karan. I've been taking Prevagen for 4 years now. I noticed a significant change. I feel confident.
Prevagen for your brain. Every day presents a new opportunity for you to take care of your brain. Supplement your good brain habits with Prevagen. Prevagen for your brain.
This isn't your average pill. This is Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks.
Rose Sparks is a fast-acting solution because it dissolves under your tongue.
Rose Sparks.
Guys, get started today.
Connect with a provider to find out if Rose Sparks are right for you.
It's fun for me to win on the course, but it's even more fun to win on Deal Dash.
Lori won $2,000 Tiffany earrings for just $1, and Joseph won an iPad for just $6. There's millions of fast auctions, so try today at DealDash.com for $50 of free credit and your first win guaranteed.
All right, back with another week of Unfiltered and another head scratcher out of Tim Walz's Minnesota. A Minnesota migrant, once honored as the outstanding refugee by the State Department's of the state's Department of Human Services, has now been charged with Medicaid fraud for allegedly billing over $1 million in fraudulent services. But that's not all. The charges allege that 2 people connected to the fraud scheme were also tied to a sex trafficking operation involving brothels. Just goes to show you there's absolutely no vetting whatsoever from outstanding refugee to 8-time felon charged. Quite the resume, quite the vetting. Great job, Minnesota. Co-host of American Agenda, Bob Brooks, and host of Rob Schmitt Tonight, conveniently named Rob Schmitt.
I know. We named the show interestingly, didn't we? Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to do
Just
something
after
else.
you.
Maybe a different name next time.
Yeah, maybe you Infinity can switch and just do each other's shows.
Confuse everyone, yeah.
No, but seriously, this is like the stupidest thing I've seen this week.
It just shows you how fake it all is, right? I mean, these people don't care at all about the society. They don't care at all about the people in their state. They're rushing these people in as fast as they can. They're giving them these fake awards. They're all frauds. Nobody cared at all about what was actually happening when you started dumping refugees into this country as fast as they could under Joe Biden. And talk about no vetting. You're giving him awards. He's one of the worst people in the state, and
what
he
are
gets
you
an
doing
award.
for money?
I actually have a different take on this. They meant to give him an award. The award was who could rip off the state of Minnesota the most, because they were all in on it. Everybody knew, and they were like, wow, this guy's killing it.
Yeah.
He is absolutely stealing all the Americans' money. We all came over here. Yeah, you get the first place award. It was the first place for stealing money award.
Nobody cared. When we found all this out, you see how quiet they all got?
Yeah.
People like Jacob Fry and Tim Walz, they were just like,
yeah.
Elmer Fudd.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we gave away billions to terrible people. Sorry.
But pay your taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pay your taxes.
Speaking of paying my taxes and them going to stupid stuff, unbelievable flock camera issue that's going on. So the CEO, not the CEO, some rep from the flock camera company was out there and he was speaking at a thing, and then the town commissioner, Joe Carr, straight up just gave it to him. Roll this.
I don't think we need to renew this at all. I don't think the people of Sullivan County want this. I believe that Flock right now is one of the most hated companies in America. They are one of the most corrupt companies in America. And quite frankly, sir, I don't think we can make America great again without hanging your CEO publicly for treason.
But that's where people are, man. You shove a flock camera up my rear end, that's how I feel.
Just a good old boy, never meaning no harm.
Oh, I meant harm.
I'll tell you what, that's how, like you said, there's no other way to put it. A lot of Americans, they are PO'd about this here. You can't spy on Americans. They take our data, tracking people down. A lot of other heinous things have happened as well, so I'm not surprised to hear that kind of comment.
But Rob, this is the thing, is like here's one of 7 billion reasons why. This is a Florida woman. She spent 13 days in jail and 7 months fighting a wrongful case solely because Flock Data gave police what they believed was her car. They tagged it, and it was not even her. It was not her car. It was nothing. And she spent days in jail, months fighting, and then they destroyed her car in the impound lot too. And she was a totally wrong person.
Sounds like a hell of a lawsuit she's going to have. I mean, this is like the Patriot Act all over again. I mean, we couldn't wait to get more surveillance on. I mean, it's that two-sided thing where people say, oh, well, you can catch a lot more criminals this way. You can make society a lot safer this way, but at what cost?
Yeah, well, exactly. And I am watching these shill Republican accounts that, I used to follow. I've unfollowed all of them. Some of them are like, oh, can we get a high five for a flock cameras? They caught a pedophile. It's like, who paid you to put that up?
Here's what I think she should do. Sue, Rob, to your point, everybody sue. You get a ton of money. And then it gets stolen by people out of Minnesota in one way, shape, or form. Via taxes.
Flock won't pay the lawsuit.
Yes.
The city will pay the lawsuit.
That's the cycle we're in right now.
Yeah, but here's the other thing, too, is you can use these cameras for basically anything you want. This woman, female cop, lesbian, goes and spies on her ex 166 times, logged her license plate to see where she... It's like, why didn't you just stay with her if you loved her that much?
Nothing crazier than a lesbian relationship. I've always heard that.
You know what's funny
Can't verify.
Men and men have the lowest divorce rate. Men and women have the second lowest, and women have the absolute highest divorce rate.
We're going to get in real trouble.
What's the common denominator there, huh?
For HR reasons, I'm not going to say. But.
No, let's move it along.
All right.
I'd like to come back to work tomorrow.
Rob, appreciate it very much.
You got it.
All right, coming up. Welcome to an elite academic world where tanking your math exam is somehow the best way to, get your college acceptance rates up, and it happens in the great state of California. All that and more. Culture Clash next.
I switched to Newsmax.
Newsmax.
Have you made the switch? You bet I did. My whole family switched. Millions are switching to Newsmax. You should too.
If you're about to replace your roof, stop.
There's a solution about 80% less expensive. 9 out of 10 roofs can be saved by Roofmax. Guaranteed to extend the life of your current roof by 5 to 15 years at a fraction of the cost of a new roof. Roofmax's deep penetrating power restores flexibility and water protection. Nobody wants to replace their roof. Restore it instead with Roofmax for 80% less. It's 2 a.m., your fever spiked and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed. And you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, you don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
Introducing Flex Seal Epoxies. Just need our ultimate putty to unleash incredible bonding power. Just one small stick of our ultimate putty can lift this 4-ton pickup. And when you mix our extreme liquid, it virtually welds these pistons together. It has the strength to lift and hold this giant 8-ton semi. It's the ultimate in extreme bonding.
Get Flex Seal Epoxy at FlexSealProducts.com.
You know, when I came in here, I was at a 15, and that's no joke. My spinal cord was almost severed. I feel like I'm gaining my freedom. My pain level of the day is nothing.
No pain now? No. Okay, feels good? Yep.
And I can feel my legs waking up and getting feeling back in my leg and my foot I haven't had in a year and a half, 2 years. I feel like I'm getting my life back.
Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
I've been in the fitness industry for more than 25 years, and Fatty 15 is a built-in recovery system for your cells. You can't have a healthy outside if you're not taking care of the inside. Try Fatty 15.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dry premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
When Saturday rolls around, I don't want to jump through hoops to watch college football. Good thing DirecTV makes it easy to keep up with my favorite college teams. No hopping between apps or channels.
Stream college football without the hurdles on DirecTV.
Remember when UC Berkeley used to be an academically renowned university, albeit progressively more socialist now, but the school has also been accepting students from a local high school pipeline where only 17% of 11th graders are proficient in English and only 6% in math. In case anyone's looking to hire anybody out of UC Berkeley, I really hope that job doesn't require any type of calculations. At Mission High School in San Francisco, 193 of 202 juniors did not meet the state math standard, yet Berkeley admitted 34 of the school's 76 applicants. That's a 45% acceptance rate, more than 4 times higher than the overall undergraduate acceptance rate. This might explain this so much. It's unbelievable. Daily Caller senior politics reporter Ashley Brasfield and Media Research Center contributor Stephanie Hamill. All right, Ashley, could this have anything to do with demographics? Are they checking boxes? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I think it has to do with demographics or, teachers basically failing their students. There could be multiple things, I think, here. I mean, you're spending $15,000 to go to UC Berkeley where ACT and SAT is not having to be provided when you're enrolling. And so what is what's happening? You can take an easy class. You can basically get an A+ for showing up for attendance, and you have to take no tests that other schools have, mandated, basically. And, another school district just not too far from this had about 400 of its 700 students apply. It had an 8% acceptance rate to UC Berkeley. It just makes no sense. And obviously, there's no meritocracy here.
Can't read? Welcome to UC Berkeley. Unbelievable. All right, former state rep from Florida, Mike Caruso, who co-sponsored Florida's HB 269. If you remember this was a, quote, hate crime, anti-Semitism measure that was actually signed by Governor Ron DeSantis, but he signed it in Israel. So the guy who authored this was arrested yesterday on multiple charges of sexual abuse of a child, including kidnapping-related offensive. And he also, this same guy, also supported Ron DeSantis' death penalty for pedos in 2023. Stephanie?
Carl, this is an absolutely horrifying story because if you think about it, it's like there's just predators walking among us. And, he is a Republican, obviously, and it just shows how hypocritical some people can be. These charges against him are despicable. And as a mother, I just cringe thinking about what this poor child went through, allegedly. I mean, it's just a horrible thing. And so, people in politics, sometimes they put on a face and they're doing things behind the scenes. And you're so right. I mean, the charges are so bad. Kidnapping, molestation, and the list goes on. So the best part about this is Governor DeSantis, he said that this man could be facing the death penalty depending on how far this gets in the state of Florida. And if you are a child molester and you are taking advantage of children, I fully support that.
Yeah, feet first in the wood chipper. Hey, Ashley, remember that heat wave that Europe tried to blame on us here in America? Well, it turns out that they have more deaths have been actually caused by the heat than COVID caused. At its peak, I think 11,900 people died from heat alone in Germany compared to 354 deaths per 100,000. This is one of those things, they just take their narrative and also ban ACs.
Yeah, and in Belgium, I believe one region had 16,000 deaths, and that was more than some of the record days during COVID-19. So that's the extent of this, if you need number comparison there. But I think one of their main reasons is that they don't want to be American, and that's kind of what's been told in many reports so far. But also, it's these many health centers that have been overrun with patients over 65 that have no air conditioning, and a lot of these come from laws on, historic preservation of buildings at the time where they live, that they're not allowed to even input an AC.
Well, they don't have the power to run it anyway because they shut down all their nuclear power plants for the Green New Deal. Stephanie, Martha's Vineyard. Look, I would die if this happened to me. Get bit by this Lone Star tick, and then you can't eat red meat and stuff like that. So Martha's Vineyard, a very highbrow place, they've had to rearrange their entire menu for almost all of their restaurants because at least people are claiming that they've been bitten by this tick and they're all allergic to red meat. I think a lot of this is a fad and it's not actually real. Some of these people are making this up just for victimhood, but you can't ask a business to realign its entire industry just because somebody can't eat red meat.
I mean, it's possible that they're pandering to the people who are going to the restaurant, but I mean, it is so over the top that they're literally writing it's alpha-gal friendly on their menu and naming certain plates after what you can pick up from these ticks. And so, we have been hearing these stories, and I've seen videos of people who say that they got bit by a tick and are suffering from this horrible situation. And I mean, people are literally withering away. So, I mean, it's hard to tell. Is it really that people maybe just don't want to eat meat? Is it tick related? I guess it's hard to tell, but that is horrifying, and I would be devastated if that happened to me.
Yes, the Lone Star tick is not a diet strategy, so I hope people don't fake it about that stuff. But I didn't even get to Jill Stein being arrested, the Green Party people, but we appreciate both of you, Ashley, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Be sure to join us again tomorrow night, folks. I will be interviewing Vice President J.D. Vance right here at the top of the hour. We're going to hit all the top stories of the day. I'm even going to try to get him to answer a couple things that haven't really been very clear yet, especially 2028. Be sure to join us tomorrow. Coming up, hey, look, happened again. Another report raising questions about who actually voted in 2020, and this time, their numbers. My thoughts next.
Every 8 minutes, a claim of sexual assault is filed against rideshare drivers. But rideshare companies prohibit both drivers and riders from carrying firearms to protect themselves.
Imagine this banana was a less lethal device capable of incapacitating an attacker in a fraction of a second and allowing you to escape.
At Byrna, we don't sell bananas.
Go to Byrna.com to find out how you can always be prepared to defend.
Attention! Do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. Tax Relief Helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consults are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528. Attention! Do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. Tax Relief Helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consults are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim.
All right, did you see this new report? I'm not trying to relitigate something that's, back in the past. I'm just pointing to the fact that there is a problem that we need to fix now. 24,000 non-citizens definitively voted in the 2020 election. And this is coming from the Census Bureau chief, okay? That means 24,000 U.S. citizens, their votes didn't count because they were negated by somebody who wasn't supposed to vote. Again, not relitigating things 6 years later. However, I am giving you a very clear example of the Save America Act and why we need to fix these things. If you're watching this show, you definitely agree with me, folks, okay? This same report notes that 160 million ballots were cast in that election, and as of this point, they can only determine with high confidence that 128 million of those votes were legally cast by citizens. They're looking into the 32 million remaining because they require further analysis. Awesome. And yet we have a Republican Senate with a 3-seat majority plus the vice presidency not willing to pass the Save America Act. And when Donald Trump tries to act on this stuff and is actually doing what he said he was going to do in order to get elected, like the people in the Senate, by the way, did the same thing. Like Trump stood on stage and was like, hey guys, I'm here for you. And they promised us this. When they do that stuff, when Trump gets up there and does it because they won't act, you have an Obama judge, an Obama-appointed judge, block an order on mail-in ballot voting because we know there's a problem because of things like this.
Yo, what's up, guys? We're outside of a very important place here in California. You'll see it's just home to a porta-john and a giant empty parking lot. But inside of this empty parking lot is something really important in the state of California. As you can see here, we have registered voters. 26 registered voters for this exact location.
26 people registered to a porta-john. Don't tell Graham Plattner. Look, we know this is a problem, and yet we have this left-wing judge who stopped this, by the way, who received an award from the Chinese Progressive Association, which is a partner of the CCP, the Chinese government, and they blocked Trump's executive order on some accountability for mail-in. This is unbelievable. I'm sorry. Do we live in America? People like that who would block something like that used to be tried for treason. Certainly nobody would listen to them. This all goes in parallel with the ongoing fight the Trump administration is having to get the voter rolls of all 50 states. Okay? The Trump administration to date has filed 30 lawsuits against states that are refusing to turn over their voter rolls. And the states are like, well, this is a states' rights issue. Under the 10th Amendment, you can't tell us. Thus far, the Trump administration, because of activist judges, have lost 22 of those lawsuits. We just got done talking about how this is happening. It happened in Massachusetts. They just locked up somebody from China. Where it's unbelievable to me. It happened in New Jersey. We know it happened in New Jersey. And they were like, oh, it was a software glitch. No, it wasn't a software glitch. You guys approved it after the software entered it. Both of those states are refusing to turn over their voter rolls, by the way. Why is it that the same government, they can just reach into my bank account after an audit and just take money if they feel like they should? They can shove a flock camera up my rear end. They can tap my phones, make me register my tomato plant. But we, the people, can't know if the people who are actually voting are actually supposed to be voting? Yes, states have the right to administer their elections. I get that. But the federal government also has a right to weigh in on that. Here, from the Constitution, actually, this weird document that, started our whole country. Article 1, like the first one, Section 4. The times, places, and manner of the holding of elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof. But, this is the part that the left doesn't read. The Congress may at any time, by law, make or alter such regulations except as to the places of choosing senators. I know it would be asking a lot for Congress to pass another law, so maybe that's a bridge too far. I don't know. But Blanche says he's going to take this one all the way up to the Supreme Court. It is worth it, guys. And they're always like, well, it's just a little bit of the acceptable inaccuracies in any election are zero. I don't care if it's for dog catcher. It must be zero. And I say this all the time because even if it's off by 1 or, 24,000 illegal votes, if it's off by a single vote, it may be my vote or your vote that's getting negated. I'm not okay with that. That's not what I went to war for. I'm not sure how this is a controversial issue, too. 82% of Americans want some sort of voter ID or election integrity. That's a bigger margin than I think almost any issue anywhere. Like, show me an issue other than oxygen that has an 82% approval rating. And yet Republicans and Democrats together are in the 18% category here. Why? I don't know. It's totally beyond me. Once again, Trump finds himself on like this island just doing what he said he was going to do. And you've got every judge and every other body of government just working against him. They're literally working against accountability. Again, you and me, we sent them there to do this. And what makes me so angry about this blatant disregard of government by unelected bureaucrats, too, they're the worst. People that used to get tarred and feathered when the government became unaccountable the way it is now, they were tarred and feathered for this because people took matters into their own hands. And I say this all the time. Good order and discipline is only going to hang around so long as it's people have more to lose than gain from disorder. If you take away people's effectively ability to vote, accountable voting, people are going to revolt. Democrats want to verify everything for gun rights, don't want to do a damn thing for voting. It's actually unbelievable to me. Anyway, before we go, one main group getting chesty in celebrating an activity reserved only for women. Next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
Nobody knows Corvettes like McMulkin Chevrolet, the world's largest Corvette dealer for 5 consecutive years. Set apart by its name alone, Corvette delivers a legacy of American craftsmanship, and a vehicle that sets the bar for performance cars deserves a buying experience that beats it. With hundreds of Corvettes in stock and ready for immediate delivery nationwide, it's no wonder Corvette enthusiasts from across the USA keep coming back to McMulkin Chevrolet.
So Dale, you really need to get that colon cancer screening.
Dad, it's been forever. I need to be in there. Wrap it up. Come on, Dad. It's been forever.
How much longer?
It's been an hour. Are you done yet?
Dale, don't worry. We can do it with just a blood test. Shield.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Shield is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer. Ask your doctor about FDA-approved Shield from the company trusted in blood tests for cancer for over a decade.
This is Flex Seal Power Putty. All the incredible sealing power of Flex Seal right in the palm of your hand. When big storms are coming, grab Power Putty. It forms an instant waterproof barrier that blocks out driving wind and rain. It's removable and reusable. To show you the incredible sealing power of Power Putty. Now that's a lot of damage. And they're gonna seal every hole using only the incredible sealing power of Power Putty. Power Putty sealed every hole, and the inside is completely dry. Woohoo! Get Flex Seal Power Putty.
Hey, I'm Dr. Drupinski. I've been a physician for 4 decades. I've been looking at the aging process for a long time, and Fatty 15 is one product that actually slows it down. Fatty 15 comes out of Navy dolphin research. A brilliant veterinarian realized that dolphins get disease much like humans. She looked at what predisposed to those problems, isolated the molecule, gave it to the animals, they didn't get the problem. Without the C15, our cells become fragile and age and oxidize. This pushes that back. Cell health equals physical health. That's why I take Fatty 15.
Running HR through 15 different apps meant stress for everyone. But with Bamboo HR, everyone's on the ball. And that ball isn't me.
When your business needs an HR platform that's truly all-in-one, that's Bambooable. That's Bamboo HR.
For all the extra hours and endless meetings, you deserve this. It's the Omaha Steaks Labor Day event, and right now we're offering 50% off site-wide. Order now and you'll get 8 of our famous burgers free when you visit omahasteaks.com/TV.
While this banana may not save you from someone breaking into your home, Berna's banana helped one vet repel an intruder in his.
This huge guy, 6'5", 6'6", just barreled through my front door. I have my Berna and my Glock. I always go for the Berna first. I've seen enough death and destruction to last 2 lifetimes. Here is the perfect item I can have, feel totally safe, and know I'm not going to kill anybody.
At Berna, we don't sell bananas, we sell peace of mind.
So remember yesterday I told you that Google's AI might lose their faith in humanity after obtaining all of Spirit Airlines data. Well, forgive me, this is actually accelerates your loss of faith in humanity. August is National Breastfeeding Month. I didn't realize it was a thing, but good for them. Well, to celebrate, the Maine State Breastfeeding Coalition, also didn't know was a thing, is celebrating trans, lactation, chest feeding, and two-spirit families. Oh. They posted this picture. What the... An obese, tattooed man, belly out, sweatpants, sitting in front of a rainbow quilt attached to a breastfeeding pump and producing milk and holding a mug that says, "Milk makes families." But I thought the left just considered milk racist like last year. It was linked to white supremacy. I guess that only applies to straight, normal white people. I'm old enough to remember when milk does a body good from the 80s and 90s. I mean, this person, Rob, might...
Is it milk that would come out of that thing? I don't know. What is milk? I don't think that's going to be milk, bro.
I got nothing.
Where do you find this stuff?
It's a gift, Rob. It's a gift for you.
I appreciate it. And thanks for ruining my dinner. Carl, good to see you. Appreciate it.